You don't fear being seen. You fear what happens after. You fear the moment you open the door of your inner house and someone walks in with muddy shoes. You fear the sentence you finally admit out loud, and the room goes quiet in the wrong way. You fear that if you stop performing strength for 1 second, the world will treat you like you're disposable. So you do a strange thing. You offer vulnerability that costs you nothing. You confess the safe pain. You reveal the polished wound, already healed, already framed, already marketable. And you call it intimacy. But the truth is sharper. You are not scared of vulnerability. You are scared of being destroyed by it. Read that again. Destroyed. In this video, you're going to learn how to be open without becoming open season. How to be honest without becoming easy to exploit. How to be human without surrendering your power. Because vulnerability without structure is not bravery. It's bleeding in public and hoping no one enjoys the sight. Welcome to PhiloThrone. We turn philosophy into self-mastery so you can sit on the throne of your own mind. Somewhere along the way, you heard a simple message. Be vulnerable and you'll be loved. It sounds noble. It also sounds like a trap. And you've felt that trap close before, haven't you? Nietzsche warned you about sentimental morals that turn weakness into virtue just to make strength feel guilty. Not because he wanted you cruel, because he knew something people rarely admit. Some people will use your softness as proof you are controllable. So, here's the correction. Real vulnerability is not spilling. It's selecting. It's not collapsing. It's revealing with intent. Ask yourself a question that cuts clean. When you open up, are you trying to be known, or are you trying to be rescued? Because those are different acts, and they create different consequences. The rescue posture is seductive. You show pain, hoping someone will fix it.
You give them a role. You hand them a lever. And once someone has a lever, they can pull. Now look at the pattern that keeps repeating. You don't get destroyed by vulnerability. You get destroyed by unfiltered exposure. There's a difference between letting someone see your inner world and letting them handle it. You don't hand a stranger your passport and call it trust. You don't give a new coworker your bank PIN and call it connection. Yet emotionally, you do the equivalent. You reveal your most tender thoughts to people who have not proven their hands are steady. Then you call it bad luck when they drop it. It wasn't bad luck. It was bad screening. Jung would tell you to watch the shadow in others and in yourself. The shadow is not always evil. Sometimes it's simply undeveloped. Sometimes it's hungry. Sometimes it's insecure. And insecure people often seek control. So if you open up to someone who needs power to feel safe, you just gave them a weapon. Not because they planned it, because they're built that way right now. And you also have a shadow pattern. You over-explain your feelings to earn permission to have them. You apologize for existing. You confess like you're on trial. That's not vulnerability. That's negotiation. And negotiation invites a verdict. If you want vulnerability without destruction, you need categories. You need to know what you're doing. There are 3 forms. First, expressive vulnerability. This is you naming what you feel. I'm disappointed. I'm anxious. I miss you. It's clean. It's direct. It's human. Second, explanatory vulnerability. This is you telling the story behind what you feel. My father left. I was humiliated. I don't trust because I was betrayed. This is deeper. This is wiring. This is blueprint. Third, access vulnerability. This is when you give someone influence over your life. You let them set your emotional weather.
You let their approval decide your self-respect. You let their presence become your stability. Most people collapse these three into one. They express, explain, and give access, all at once. That's how you get destroyed, because you're not being vulnerable. You're being porous. That's not openness. That's leakage. Stoicism isn't emotional suppression. It's boundary intelligence. Marcus Aurelius wrote about guarding the inner citadel, not to hide your feelings, to keep your sovereignty. Your feelings deserve air. They do not deserve to be governed by anyone who walks by. And here's what you don't see until it's too late. The real cost of reckless vulnerability is not embarrassment. It's self-betrayal. You start editing yourself to keep what you revealed from being used. You stop speaking because the last time you did, it became ammunition. You begin to treat your own heart like a liability. That's the slow death. You become a person who has emotions, but never inhabits them. You smile while your throat tightens. You joke while your chest burns. You say it's fine while your nervous system screams. And then, one day, you don't know what you feel anymore. Not because you're stoic, because you're numb. Machiavelli understood something uncomfortable. People respond to what works, not what's fair. If your openness becomes leverage, it will be pulled. If your boundaries are fog, they will be crossed. So the question is not, should you be vulnerable? The question is sharper. Can you be vulnerable and remain ungovernable? Most people think opening up is a gift. It is not. It is a test of character, yours and theirs. You don't reveal to be liked. You reveal to observe. You watch what they do with the truth. Do they handle it with care, or do they make it about themselves? Do they get curious, or do they get judgmental? Do they protect it, or do they broadcast it? Your truth is like a flame. In the right room, it warms. In the wrong room, it consumes oxygen and suffocates you. So you test in layers. You start with expressive vulnerability. One honest sentence. One clean admission. No dramatic backstory, no begging. Then you pause, and you notice. Do they lean in respectfully? Do they get awkward and change the subject? Do they offer cheap advice to avoid discomfort? Do they try to fix you so they can feel superior? These are signals. Epictetus taught you to focus on what is in your control. Your control is not their reaction. Your control is what you share next. If they fail the first test, you don't punish them. You simply do not promote them deeper into your inner world. That is not coldness. That is leadership. Now, here's the brutal mistake. You open up when you are still drowning. If you are in the middle of panic, heartbreak, addiction, or collapse, and you hand your rawest emotions to someone else, you are not sharing. You are outsourcing regulation. You make them your oxygen tank. Then you wonder why you feel powerless when they leave. That's not love. That's dependence wearing a tender mask. Vulnerability works best when you can stay present while speaking, not detached, not flooded. Present. It's like driving in the rain. You can still move, but only if you grip the wheel. If you let go, you don't become more authentic. You crash. So before you share, ask yourself, can I survive my own truth if they respond poorly? Can I hold myself if they misunderstand? If the answer is no, don't confess. Process first. Write it. walk it off. Name it privately. Stabilize. Then share from the shore, not from the deep water. That's how you stay open, without becoming destroyable. Now listen for a trap that hides inside honesty. There's a style of vulnerability that sounds honest, but is secretly self-harm. You say, "I'm too much." You say, "I'm hard to love." You say,
You probably deserve better than me. Listen carefully. That is not humility. That is you placing the knife in someone's hand and begging them to cut. When you narrate yourself as defective, you train people to treat you as a project, or worse, as a burden. You make disrespect feel logical. Vulnerability is not self-condemnation. It is self-disclosure. A disciplined sentence sounds like this: I'm struggling with trust, and I'm working on it. Not this: I'm broken, so don't leave. One statement invites partnership. The other invites management. Even love has leverage. Be wise. Say what is true. Refuse to make yourself small to make the truth believable. People don't fear your feelings. They fear what your feelings will demand from them. When you share without boundaries, your emotions look like a tidal wave. They don't know where to stand, so they back away. And then you call them cold. But often, you were simply formless. Boundaries give your inner world a shape. A boundary can be a time limit. I can talk for 10 minutes, then I need a walk. A boundary can be a request. I don't need solutions. I need you to listen. A boundary can be a consequence. If you mock this, I won't share like this again. Notice how clean that is. No threat, no drama, just structure. Think of vulnerability like electricity. Without insulation, it shocks everyone. With insulation, it powers a house. Stoics didn't build walls to hide. They built walls to decide what enters. The inner citadel is not loneliness. It is a filter. You've been trained to value intensity, the fast connection, the late-night confession, the "I've never told anyone this" rush. But intensity is not safety. It's heat. And heat can be a fire that warms you, or a fire that burns down the room. Look for weight capacity. Do they keep confidences with other people? Do they take responsibility when they're wrong? Do they handle conflict without punishment? Do they respect no without turning it into a trial? These are not romantic preferences. These are structural requirements. Jung would say you're looking for an ego strong enough to face the shadow. A person who cannot face their own darkness will panic when they touch yours. And panic makes people cruel. So here is what changes, starting now. You stop dumping. You start disclosing. You stop confessing to be saved. You start speaking to be known. You keep one hand on the wheel. You test in layers. You refuse self-condemnation. You give your feelings boundaries so they can be held. You choose people who have proven they can carry weight. Vulnerability is not the absence of armor. It is wearing armor that opens and closes on command. You can be soft without being breakable. You can be honest without being owned. You can be fully human and still sovereign. Now for the twist that stings. Sometimes you don't hide your feelings. You display them. You perform vulnerability the way others perform confidence. You share something deep at the perfect moment with the perfect tone to control the outcome. You call it honesty, but it's choreography. Why? Because real vulnerability is unpredictable.
It doesn't guarantee affection. It doesn't guarantee loyalty. And you hate gambling with your heart. So you stage manage your openness. You cry in ways that win comfort. You admit flaws that make you look noble. You reveal pain that earns applause. This is the modern mask, the authentic persona. Jung would say the persona is not a lie, it's a tool. But when you confuse the tool for yourself, you become hollow. You can be open and still untouched. So here's the brutal question. When you speak about your pain, do you feel lighter, or do you feel like you just negotiated for safety? Because if it's negotiation, you are still afraid. You are still trying to avoid being destroyed. The Stoics did not teach you to feel less.
They taught you to belong to yourself. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up and say, "Today I will be numb." He said, in effect, "Today I will not give away my steering wheel." Vulnerability becomes safe when it comes from sovereignty. Sovereignty means your inner state is not dependent on the audience. It means you can be misunderstood and still remain intact. It means you can be rejected and still respect yourself. This is where most people fail. You want closeness and self-respect, but you trade one for the other. You either stay guarded and lonely, or you open up and become desperate. There is a third path. You open up while staying owned by yourself. And ownership is not a feeling. It's a practice. You don't need more courage. You need a system. Here are 5 rules, not for drama, for durability. Rule 1. State, don't plead. Say, "I'm hurt by that," not, "Please don't leave me." A state is information. A plea is dependency. Rule 2. Ask for a behavior, not a person. "I need you to listen for 2 minutes" is concrete. "I need you to care" is a fog bank. People can meet behaviors. They can't meet vague demands without resentment. Rule 3. Keep your dignity inside the sentence. No self-insults. No groveling. No, "I'm crazy, I know." Your pain is real. Don't sabotage it before it lands. Rule 4. Notice reciprocity. Do they share too, in a grounded way? Or do they only take your truth and offer nothing back but commentary? Respect grows where exchange is balanced. Rule 5. Close the loop. After you share, return to your center. Breathe. Move. Do one small act of self-respect. Don't sit there waiting for their response to declare your worth. These rules sound simple. That's why they work. Steel is simple. It doesn't beg the fire to be gentle. Now, the uncomfortable layer. Machiavelli is often reduced to manipulation, but his deeper lesson is about incentives. People do what their character and their costs allow. So when you reveal yourself, watch incentives. If someone benefits from you being insecure, they will feed the insecurity. If someone benefits from you being dependent, they will keep you hungry. If someone benefits from you being confused, they will keep the story unclear. This is why some people love your vulnerability. It lowers your price. It makes you easier to steer. So you must ask, who becomes more powerful when I become more open? If the answer is them, be careful. Vulnerability is safest with people who become more responsible when you become more honest. The ones who feel the weight of your truth, not the thrill of it. Here is a practical mental model. Imagine 2 doors in your mind. Door 1 is expression. Door 2 is access. Expression means you share your experience. Access means you let them shape your future. Most people swing both doors open together. Then they wonder why their whole house feels occupied. Try this. Open door 1 earlier.
open door 2 later. You can tell someone, "That hurt," without giving them the power to ruin your week. You can say, "I'm afraid," without letting them become your only safe place. You can admit, "I need support," without surrendering your standards. This is not emotional coldness. This is pacing. This is how trust is built in real life, one verified step at a time. You don't need paranoia. You need perception. Here are 4 warning signals. First, you feel rushed. They want your secrets fast. They push for full honesty early. Speed is not intimacy. Speed is extraction. Second, they punish your boundaries. You say, "Not now," and they sulk. You say, "That's private," and they accuse you of hiding. This is not curiosity. This is entitlement. Third, your truth becomes a joke. They tease. They bring it up in front of others. They pretend it's harmless. It's not harmless.
It's a test to see if you'll tolerate disrespect.
Fourth, you start editing reality. You feel confused after conversations. You rehearse what you should say. You walk on eggshells. Your nervous system is giving you data. Listen, this is rejection pain, not truth. Nietzsche would call this the moment you must choose your self-overcoming, not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind. The choice to stop feeding the person who feeds on you. There is a higher form of vulnerability most people never learn. Vulnerability without disclosure. It sounds impossible, but watch. You can be vulnerable through presence, through eye contact, through softness in your voice, through admitting, "I don't have words yet," through saying, "I need time," instead of inventing a story. This is powerful because it refuses the false trade. Either expose everything or hide everything. You can remain open while remaining private. Epictetus would approve, not because secrets are noble, because you are responsible for what you place in the hands of others. Your interior is not a public park. It's a temple, not to worship yourself, to protect what is sacred from careless feet. At some point, it will happen, not because you failed, because you live among humans. Someone will take a sentence you offered in trust and throw it back at you. They will say it when they're angry. They will say it when others are listening. They will say it with a smile that pretends it's just true. This is the moment most people collapse. They either shut down forever, or they chase the person, trying to explain themselves back into safety. Don't do either. Use a recovery protocol. First, name the event, not your shame. Say calmly, "You used something I shared to hurt me." No yelling, no long speech, just the fact. Truth, delivered like a gavel. Second, remove access immediately, not theatrically, structurally. Less contact, less disclosure, less emotional labor.
If they ask why you're distant, repeat the sentence. A boundary doesn't need new paragraphs.
Third, metabolize the pain privately. Write what you wish you said. Move your body until the adrenaline leaves. Talk to someone who has earned your trust. The goal is not revenge. The goal is your nervous system returning to order. Fourth, extract the lesson without becoming cynical. Jung would call this integration. You don't say, "No one is safe." You say, "This person is not safe with this part of me." A Stoic move here is to stop arguing about intention. Whether they meant it or not, the effect is real. You don't prosecute them in court. You change the policy. The inner citadel updates its rules after every breach, and you move on. Finally, Restore your standard. Vulnerability is not canceled because one person failed. You refine the filter. Like a lock after a break-in, you upgrade the mechanism. If you can do that, something changes. You stop fearing destruction because you know what you will do if it happens. And certainty is a shield. Now you need a practice that makes this real. For 7 days, you will train controlled openness, not as a personality trait, as a discipline. Day 1. Write the sentence. Choose one truth you avoid saying. Write one clean line. I feel blank when blank. No blame, no story, just the fact. Day 2. Speak it, low stakes. Tell someone safe, or say it out loud, alone. Notice your body. Where do you tighten? Where do you want to over-explain? Breathe and keep it simple. Day 3. Add a boundary. Share a small feeling with a clear request. I don't need advice, just listening. Or, I can talk for 5 minutes. Watch how structure changes the room. Day 4. Practice the pause. After sharing, don't fill silence. Don't rescue them from discomfort. Let the moment exist. This teaches your nervous system that you can survive the gap. Day 5. Observe reciprocity. Share something modest, then ask one honest question. How do you experience this? If they can't meet you, you learn without drama. Day 6. Close the loop with yourself. After any vulnerable moment, do one act of self-respect. Clean your space. Train your body. Finish a task. Take a walk. Teach your psyche, I am still in command. Day 7. Upgrade your standard. Write a list. What my vulnerability requires. Respect. Privacy. No mockery. No punishment for boundaries. Consistency. This is your inner constitution. At the end, you will notice something. Vulnerability stops feeling like a cliff. It starts feeling like a door you can open and close. Here is the last misunderstanding. You think power means being untouchable, but untouchable people become brittle. They become lonely kings in empty castles. The throne is not a wall. It's a seat. You sit. You breathe. You rule your inner life. And from that place, you choose what to share. Not to earn love, not to buy safety, but to tell the truth with dignity. So ask yourself one question. Where have you been bleeding to be believed? If this made you see yourself clearly, like it. In the comments, answer this. What is one truth you've been afraid to say out loud? Subscribe to PhiloThrone if you want more philosophy turned into self-mastery. Next, we'll talk about how to build a mind so disciplined that no rejection, no silence, and no betrayal can take you off your path.